Hey, so Saturday we had the largest number of COVID-19 cases in the United States, and people are celebrating because of the presidential win and all of that. And still, people need to stay at home, and they're not. But anyway, I'm here to help you with that because I have books. And this time I decided to do books about the kind of take on people who are different from everybody else, meaning they have disabilities or different abilities. And the best book about that, sort of the most important book about that, I think, in a way, is this book, Geek Love. Katherine Dunn. She's died, but it won the National Book Award. This book's so good. It's about a carnival. A geek is a person in a carnival who bites the heads off of live chickens. And so there was a woman in this carnival who was so beautiful and bit the heads off a list of chickens, and she was the geek, and she and the carnival owner fell in love. They decided to have children, but what was the point of having children unless they could work in the carnival? So she took a ton of drugs while she was pregnant. And the narrator of the book is the one who's the least differently formed. She's an albino dwarf, and she narrates this, and she always feels like lesser because she's not as interesting as her siblings. This book is really crazy, disturbing, really beautifully written. It's worth reading. Next, I have one of my favorite writers, Harry Crews. This book's celebration is cool. It's about this guy called Stump who bought and runs a trailer park called Forever and Ever. The trailer park is for retired or older people, and it's basically where they go to die. This young woman is probably 18, named Too Much because she's too much here and she's too much here, she's just too much, comes and intrigues Stump, who's missing one of his arms to the elbow. It gets him to love his Stump and kind of takes over what's going on in the trailer park because she's too much and kind of hard to resist. This is a really great book too. Now, Provincetown Connection is coming here. This is Jillian. She wrote the Colony, which is kind of funny because she used to go to the old Colony Tap here. This book actually, it takes place in Long Island, but it really takes place in Provincetown, where she was a Fine Arts Work Center fellow. In fact, if you read the description of her apartment in this colony, it's exactly her apartment here. And a lot of the characters, if you knew the fellow she was with, are in here. Also, she's really funny because if you know her, you can see things like she talks about her sweet iced tea, which is really undrinkable for me because I can't deal with sweet things, but it's really funny. But she's a badass. She writes a lot like Bukowski, not in sentence-wise because she's a poet and her sentences are all beautiful, but in like tough guy-wise, like she's not afraid of sex, she's not afraid of saying what she wants to say. She's a badass and she's super funny. This book is great, and it came after her first poetry collection, which is called, God, why can I always forget this when it's like the best title. I think it's like The Sex Guide to Amputees, something like that. Anyway, it's super, I don't know, can't find it here. I think it's The Sex Guide to Amputees. But anyway, she's great. This book is really fun. You'll recognize a lot of Provincetown in this, and it has a lot about people with different disabilities, including, mood disorders and mental disorders, which are, physical, really. So, which brings me to another one of my favorite writers of all time, Richard Yates, Disturbing the Peace. Richard Yates is the coolest guy, or was the coolest guy ever. I consider him a Boston writer because he lived in Boston and taught at BU for some time, but he grew up, I think, in Hoboken. Anyway, this book, Disturbing the Peace, he's famous for Revolutionary Road. This book is about when he had a complete breakdown and ended up in a mental hospital. And his wife at the time couldn't believe it when she read this book because she was like, that's exactly what happened. And he was so incoherent, she doesn't really understand how he knew like what was going on and remembered what was going on and write it all down. But this book is, if you're interested in mental hospital books and, I think he seemed to me kind of manic, like really manic, but I don't know who am I to diagnose. But this book is great. And if you want to know what Richard Yates is like, so if you've ever watched Seinfeld, Larry David was friends with one of Richard Yates' daughters. So that daughter became the character in Seinfeld of Elaine. So when they went to bring Elaine's father on, they hired an actor who usually plays gangsters, like Lawrence Tierney. His name's Lawrence Tierney. He used to always play gangster stuff. He's dead now. He was also in Tough Guy, Just Don't Dance, Nora Mailer's film. He played Ryan O'Neal's father. Anyway, he's so funny because he was on the set and basically terrified everybody. He took a knife from the kitchen, Jerry's kitchen set, and like was walking around with it, and everybody was afraid of him. Anyway, the episode that he was on, it was called The Jacket, and it's really worth watching. So if you want to see what Richard Yates was like in Larry David's mind, watch Seinfeld's The Jacket episode. Also, they wanted to keep him as a continuing character, but when he stole that knife from the set, like they were all terrified. So he didn't get to come back, which is too bad because it's like one of my favorite episodes. So anyway, check out these books, watch Seinfeld, please just stay away from other people, wear the masks. Take care, have a good read.